Hey gang, it's me once again. Today we're focusing on Julius Malema. He says all undocumented foreign nationals are welcome in South Africa. This is his assertions in Kenya. He claims South Africans must not vote for the EFF if they want to declare war on illegal immigrants. Wow, what a nice way to lose elections. The boy is crazy. Listen to this.
Comrades, we will make sure the struggle of all immigrants, most of whom are economic migrants and asylum seekers in South Africa. We will never. In South Africa, they say to us, if you want to be elected, you must declare war on illegal immigrants. And illegal immigrants, they mean Africans. We have refused as the EFF that we will never declare war on any immigrant, illegal or legal. Illegal according to whose law? Because if you are
illegal according to the laws that enabled you to be a parliamentarian in South Africa. South Africa is a free country, it's a sovereign nation, it's been free since 1994. And it has had a legislature of which you have been part of for so many years since the EFF has been formed as a political party. The purpose of legislature is to pass laws and to adopt those laws that have been passed during apartheid that they see them fit for the purpose, and to remove those which they see them to be unfit for the purpose. So the issue of migration, perhaps when you come back to South Africa, the first thing you need to do is to consult with Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi so that you are familiar with the laws that governs migrations, outward migration and inward migration. Otherwise, it is completely nonsensical to say a sovereign nation cannot pass its own laws. These are not European laws. But of course, because of his Eurocentric animosity, he is going to suggest that these are European laws. Of course, that is not an argument that can be sustained anyway. It's a foolish argument to make. So it is the laws that enables you to be in parliament, to be paid as much as you are being paid, that make South Africans to say you need to prioritize South Africans. South Africa, just like all countries in the world, it has got its own domestic problems, which are worsened when you now have to focus on illegal immigration. Just a simple example, in South Africa recently, we had a lot of these illegal immigrants who own spaza shops selling to our children goods that led to at least 6 deaths at my last count of children who consumed goods which were purchased from these spaza shops. Now, it turns out that these foreign immigrants literally manufacture their own goods for the purposes of selling them without being approved by SABS, which is the South African Bureau of Standards, for a simple example. We also have another issue of Nigerians who hijack buildings and sell cocaine and drugs and all that in the CBDs, both in Johannesburg as well as in Cape Town. So to pretend as though that these illegal immigrants do not bring their own problems to South Africa is nonsensical completely. But nevertheless, let's hear him out.
Illegal, you should have violated a certain law. Which African law did these people violate when they came to this side of Africa? Because they are still in the same territory of Africa. They are at home when they are in South Africa.
Perhaps Julius Malema needs to be referred to Geography 101. I understand he did woodwork in matric, but clearly he's never done geography. Africa is not a country, it's a continent. It's a continent that is segmented. Of course, it is Julius Malema's view that the separation of the countries and the borders were done by white people, and therefore we ought not to have regard for them. The only problem with that rhetoric is simple. There's a lot of things that were brought by white people that Julius Malema participates in. For example, the issue of having private schools. Julius Malema sends his children to a private school. The issue of airplanes. Julius Malema flew to Kenya, and when he got to Kenya, he produced a passport to respect Kenya as a sovereign country. But he's telling you to be illegal in South Africa. Can you see that? He's telling other people to practice what he himself does not practice. He flew to Kenya. He has passport. He would not have been allowed inside that country if he did not produce his own passport. There is a passport that is required if you go to Kenya. So this is a lot of nonsense and a hogwash, which is simply meant to appeal to those who are unthinking and perhaps because he has been amassing a lot of support in the Twitter space, which is now called X, and YouTube space. You see a lot of people who knows nothing about Julius Malema saying that, oh, this is an ideal leader of Africa. Of course, it's like that when you do not know a person. Well, we as South Africans know Julius Malema for who he is. We don't need to be told about Julius Malema. The boy is corrupt to the core. He has absolutely no regard for the law, and that is why he's asking such foolish questions, but yet he's a lawmaker in South Africa. According to whose law, right? Which law of Africa? Africa has no one law because Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent, and each country in Africa will have its own laws that governs it. To disrespect that is to demonstrate another fault that we should fault you with in terms of your thinking, because it goes without saying that he couldn't go to Botswana when the president of Botswana didn't want him there, right? So why was that the case? It's the same. If Mugabe didn't welcome him in Zimbabwe, he couldn't have gone to Zimbabwe. Why? Because this is a sovereign country. To pretend otherwise during this day and age as though that Africa is one single country it's absolutely nonsensical. It could, of course, be an idealistic thing for him that he wants Africa to be united. Well, so many people before him, like Kwame Nkrumah, have been advocating for that. Whether or not it's doable, it's another question altogether. I mean, for example, we've got 11 languages in South Africa, and we struggle on a number of issues to have a hegemony and run as a nation. How much more if you take all the different ethnic groups in Africa? So it's a questionable if indeed his dream will be realized during his lifetime or his son's lifetime or his grandchildren's lifetime. I would think it would certainly never gonna be realized. For a simple example, Africa is a continent of 1.3 billion people who are so diverse almost in everything. The fact that they are black doesn't necessarily mean they have something in common. But of course, when you talk about Julius Malema, you're talking about a race hustler. So for him, he thinks that our pigmentation means that we are the same. He overlooks what is happening in Sudan, where black people are killing others simply because they are Muslims. And Muslims are killing people because they are not Muslims. So when I'm saying they are killing people simply because they are Muslims, I simply meant to say that the Muslims are killing people because they are not Muslims in Sudan. You can check for yourself. The videos are out there on YouTube if you are interested in that. And the same is happening with Boko Haram in Nigeria. So all of these differences exist in Africa between the different groupings. So it's our laws, Julius, that you have participated in passing. It's got nothing to do with Europeans. And in any case, you are being hypocritical when you talk about laws of Europe and things of Europe that Europe has brought that we must neglect. You wear clothes that have been made in Italy. That's Europe. You fly on airplanes that have never been invented by black people. You drive cars that have been made from Germany and the cars that have been made in England by Europeans. So this selective approach of you to be incensed, or the correct word would be this selective outrage that you have against Europeans, no smart person will fall for it. It's only people who have not thought, given your rationale a deep thought, to come to a conclusion. I mean, for example, even issues of plumbing have not been invented by African people. So why are you using the ablution facilities that have got plumbing instead of going outside your yard when you want to do whatever, when you want to help yourself and relieve yourself, right? So it's complete stupidity to say whose laws are these. These laws were brought to Africa. It doesn't matter who brought them. We were not here. We are not fighting wars of people that preceded us, right? We're fighting our own battles right now. And South Africa is a free country. The country that where you are standing in, Kenya, is a free country. It has got its own laws. How I wish you would have addressed the real issue in Kenya, because Kenya doesn't have rights for gays and lesbians. Here in South Africa, you wrap yourself around with LGBTQI flags, but in Kenya, you did not once mention that. This is how hypocritical the boy is. Where he knows very well in South Africa, there's a freedom of speech. In Kenya, there isn't. And he goes to Kenya to talk about, there is a freedom of speech in Kenya, but that freedom of speech is not applicable to gay people. It's just that simple. So he goes to Kenya and he doesn't address that issue. Why? Because he knows what would have happened to him. And then he wants us to believe he's a revolutionary. No, it's a Freedom Day revolutionary, a completely useless effort. There is nothing that is happening in South Africa that would not have happened simply if Malema was not born, for an example. Everything that is taking place, our freedom, we fought for it. We did not need his help. He's making all of this noise simply because he is in a free country that has a freedom of speech, which enables him to say whatever he wants to say, right? All the things, SRC, we fought for SRC. Julius Malema was not even born when we fought for those things. We fought against apartheid. By the time South Africa became free, he was 9 years old, if my calculations are correct. So he literally doesn't know what apartheid is. He grew up during the reign of Nelson Mandela and Thabo Mbeki. And suddenly, during the Zuma years, he was in his early 20s to mid-20s. So the point I'm trying to make here is that this is absolutely nonsensical. And if we had a president who understood our foreign policy, that is Cyril Ramaphosa, he would address this issue with immediate effect. But nevertheless, we know Ramaphosa is certainly not going to address this. But this is the quickest way to certainly lose votes, to tell South Africans who have got their own pressing issues that your party is fighting for all undocumented foreign nationals and to be welcomed in this country. This is pure madness. Okay, that's my rant concerning this one. You tell me what you guys think about it. Ciao, ciao. Bye.